Welcome back. I am here with the literal resident expert of Big Bend National Park. So today he's going to share with you his top 10 favorite things about Big Bend National Park. Okay, this is Ryan. Ryan, what's your first piece of advice about what to do at Big Bend National Park?
What I think is so incredible about Big Bend is the variety of scenery and things that you can do there. I think the number one thing to do there is to hike. I would hike the south of that trail. You can backpack that. It's just absolutely stunning. You can take a spur trail up to Emery Peak, which is the second highest peak in Texas. You can hike Santa Elena Canyon. The Rio Grande splits the canyon and you see just right into Mexico.
Yeah, that's probably the most, I think, iconic hike in the park is that Santa Elena Canyon. And oftentimes when you see any sort of videos about Big Bend, the images are going to be at Santa Elena Canyon. It is quite stunning though, and it is something that should not be missed. And it is a hike, but it is completely doable and accessible to most people. We had a situation last time we went where there was actually water where the trail began, so there was some navigating off trail that was a little dicey, but generally speaking it's supposed to be actually pretty
It's a very
easy.
accessible trail.
Yeah. So Santa Elena Canyon, that's a great one. I totally agree with that one. What else do you want to share about it?
One of my other favorite trails is the Lost Mine Trail. That one is absolutely stunning. It's almost like a light version of the South. Beautiful vistas, very similar scenery, just not quite as intense of a hike.
Now that one you have to know to get up really early because that's one of the most famous hikes in the whole park. So it's very hard to get a parking spot or for that to be accessible to you because so many other people are trying to hike that specific trail. So that will take some pre-planning. It's a must-do, but it takes some pre-planning for sure.
Agreed. One recommendation would be to stay in Chisos Basin, either at the lodge or in the campground. It's maybe a 5-minute drive from the campground to the trailhead, and you definitely do want to get there early to get a parking spot. Otherwise, you're in no man's land on that road. Next thing I would recommend would be doing hot springs on the southern portion of the park. There's some hot springs in the Rio Grande River. Those are really popular. You can cross the river into Mexico and go into Buquias. So there's a crossing called Buquias Canyon Crossing. You do have to have a valid passport in order to cross, but there are people there that can help you cross the river. So bring some cash to be able to pay for those services.
And that one you may want to check with a ranger or check the park website ahead of time because there are lots of different reasons and situations in which that crossing actually closes. So I wouldn't go planning on that happening 100%. It can be on your wish list, but you're going to want to check a couple things before you do that crossing just to make sure that there's not something else going on there that time of year.
Agreed. There's a lot of wildlife to watch for. So there are Mexican black bears found primarily in the Chisos Basin area of the park.
And wait, but Mexican black bears are different than the black bears that we'd see up in the Rockies, right? You told me a lot about that. I haven't seen them out in Big Bend, but what would we notice are differences between the black bear that we're used to seeing maybe out in the Rockies versus the Mexican black bear down in Big Bend?
Yeah, generally they're just not as big. They're much smaller. They were almost extinct from the region, and they have made over the last several years a pretty nice little comeback. They're a much smaller bear. They're very docile. There has never been an attack in Big Bend National Park in its history. So not anything to be fearful of, but something to just be cognizant of. But yeah, it's always exciting to find a bear, right?
Yeah, but what is the other predator that you've got to look out for at Big Bend National Park that you probably need to be just a little bit more aware of?
Sure. There are mountain lions in the Chisos Mountain. You probably won't ever see one. They will probably see you, but those are the ones that I would be probably more mountain lion aware of than I would be bear aware.
Yes, there's a lot of information on how to be bear aware and be careful of the bears and even the bear spray and everything. But in terms of mountain lion safety, that might be something that you need to do a little bit more research on or touch base with the rangers when you get to the park, because it is a little bit of a different situation how you approach the mountain lions versus a bear.
Correct. There's signage along most of the trails, just warning you when you're in their habitat. But yeah, definitely something you want to pay attention to. There are also javelinas in Big Bend, so those are exciting to see. You have roadrunners, which are native to the region. Those are fun to see. They don't really look like the cartoon roadrunner that you're used to seeing with Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah, it's a little disappointing because I feel like on the cartoon roadrunner, they're so much bigger, and roadrunners in real life are so small. It's like seeing a mouse run across the road. It's a little anticlimactic, to be honest.
It's still cool to see.
Okay.
The other thing I would always keep an eye out for in Big Bend are tarantulas. They are very docile. There's no reason to be afraid of them, but they're there and it's fun to come across. The other thing I would try to steer clear of are snakes. There are definitely rattlesnakes in Big Bend. They are not as docile, and as long as you stay on the trail and just keep your eyes open. I've actually never run across one in the park, but there are definitely reported sightings all the time.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. That's my biggest fear. Let's keep going. What else do you suggest?
There is a lot of off-roading opportunities. So if you have a Jeep or a 4Runner or four-wheel drive truck and you want to get off the beaten path, there is a lot of trails in Big Bend that you can drive. There is a gas station in the park, so you can keep yourself filled up. There is a trail called Black Gap Road. That is a Jeep Badge of Honor trail, so it's for the serious off-roader.
I get car sick, so that's not on my list, but you do see a lot of these off-road vehicles, and it's pretty cool. It looks like a lot of fun for those of you that enjoy that.
I like just standing at the gas station and watching all of the different road vehicles come in and fill up, and they just all look so cool.
I like going into the gas station because they have different merchandise for sale than they do at the visitor center, so it's a new shopping experience. They also actually, at the gas station, they have a pretty decent little grocery section in case you miss anything and you can't get it at the visitor center because they don't have any food there that I remember.
At the Panther Junction Visitor Center, there is not food.
Yeah, at Chisos, I know that they have a little shop
There's
up
a store
there.
up there, a camp store.
But near Panther Junction, that's where the gas station is. So you can get some snacks or other food that you need while you're in the park. You can get that there. You can also get your ice cream there.
Yes, absolutely.
So you've taken us through a lot of things that you think we should enjoy while we're in the park. Is there anything else? And if not, what would you suggest outside of the park if we have an extra day?
One thing that we have not done that we would like to do is to either canoe or kayak the Rio Grande. So there are services that you can sign up with out of Terlingua, which is the little town just outside of Big Bend, and you can ride the river. So that is dependent on the weather and the flow rate of the river, but absolutely something we would like to do in the future.
Yeah, that looks like a lot of fun. When we were hiking Santa Elena Canyon back in December, we saw a group of kayakers go through, and that it would have been just a perfect day to be doing that. So yeah, definitely try to get your kayak trip in the winter down there.
Outside of the park, I would recommend exploring Terlingua. It's a little ghost town. It's a little eccentric. It's grown a lot over the last 10-15 years, but it's still really cool. There are restaurants, bars, and
there are lots of friendly dogs. So if you're missing your dog at home, even if you're sitting outside at the restaurant, you can have a whole lot of dogs approach you. So that can be a lot of fun.
Yeah, they're there. If you're driving through Lingua, you can take the river road down to Presidio. That is, we haven't done that yet, but that is supposed to be just an absolutely beautiful drive. And along that route is Big Bend State Park, which is a little bit more rugged from what I have been told than a national park. So if you're trying to get away from the crowds, that may be a really good opportunity for you. If you go further north, you can explore through Marfa, which is super famous, and I don't know what the right word is for that. It's very eclectic, very eccentric, trendy, yes. Alpine is another town. Fort Davis is just a hair. We have a special place in our heart for Fort Davis. And then going out the park the other direction up towards Fort Stockton, you can stop in Marathon for a good overnight stay and one day in the town, I think.
Yeah, so there's a lot to do in and around Big Bend, and as many times as we have been to Big Bend and the area around it, we still have a list a mile long and far longer than the list of things that we have actually done. Oh, one thing that you should know, the restaurant up at Chisos Basin is actually very good. It's a very good restaurant in the park. I was really surprised. Now, unfortunately, they're shutting it down.
Temporarily.
Yeah, to rebuild it. It also has some of the most stunning views of any place in the entire national park out the back of this restaurant. It's a secret, it seems, because I've never heard anybody share this before, but when it is rebuilt or before they completely shut it down, I don't know that they've shut it down quite yet, but it's on the agenda. Go to the restaurant up in Chisos Basin and have a wonderful dinner up there. Maybe schedule it around sunset and it'll be magical. It's that beautiful up there. So we hope that you enjoy Big Bend. There is a lot to do. You need to be careful about the time of year. It's a winter destination for sure. But in the spring, sometimes there is a super bloom. Yeah. So just like the other desert parks, when there has been extra rainfall one year and there has been less rainfall in the years surrounding it, there is a super bloom where you see the most beautiful flowers in the desert, far more stunning than the flowers that you see in other areas because they are reserved for only a special occasion. So go to Big Bend, enjoy it. And if you have any questions, we have a resident expert and you can just leave them below. And I'm quite sure we have the answer, or we will feel an urgent need to find you the answer and to know ourselves. Yeah. Thanks for joining us. Thanks, Ryan.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Bye.